Welcome to LoanBeam Workbook Fundamentals. LoanBeam's Excel workbook is organized into 5 different types of tabs: the cover page, the summary sheet, the main sheet, the income stream tabs, and the transcript comparison tab. The cover page is designed to provide general information about the application and its findings. Our summary sheet gives you a quick overview of qualifying income on a single tab. Our main sheet keeps a detailed total of the various income streams and allows you to calculate qualifying income. Our income stream tabs give you an in-depth line item view of every value scanned from your borrower's IRS tax documents. And our transcript comparison tab compares LoanBeam's figures to the IRS tax documents to ensure our calculations are correct. Now that we have a general understanding of what each tab does, let's take a closer look at our summary sheet and main sheet. The summary sheet aggregates all qualifying income onto a single tab, broken down by Borrower 1 and Borrower 2. As you can see, much of this borrower's qualifying income has yet to be assigned. We'll take care of that on the main sheet. On LoanBeam's main sheet, you'll find your borrower's income in these 2 columns right here: our current year income and our borrower's previous year income. Along our rows are all of our different income streams, separated into their different forms and schedules by these dark blue lines. And if we carry these 2 columns down to the bottom of the page, we'll have our totals. So for 2016, our borrower, Jack Anderson, brought in almost $300,000 in total income. And for 2015, Mr. Anderson's income was $235,000. And that's because Jack Anderson has many different income streams: S-Corp income, partnership income, trust income. Now, for most borrowers, what you'll see is maybe they'll have some rental income, or perhaps they'll have some Schedule C income, but aside from that, a lot of zeros. That is actually quite normal to see. Now that you understand how the main sheet is structured, let's review LoanBeam's basic functions, which will help you adjust the workbook to best meet company products and overlays. If I hover my mouse over any cell that has a little red triangle, a comment pops up, and that comment tells me exactly where this income came from. So in this case, that value is $16,600. It came from Jack Anderson's 2016 Form 1040.pdf, form type is 1040, line 8B, tax exempt interest. And this is really the first of LoanBeam's basic functions. Now, the second of LoanBeam's basic functions is represented by these light blue aqua-colored cells that you see throughout the workbook. And these cells are designed to draw your eye, and they're designed to capture your attention. Now, these cells are decision cells, and so let's make some decisions here with these cells and change our income from non-recurring to recurring. And when we change this income to recurring, you can see that the row turns from gray to white, and the income jumps to these 2 columns right here. And these are arguably the most important columns in our LoanBeam workbook. That is our qualifying income annual column, divided by 12 gives us our qualifying income monthly column. So again, nothing counts towards our qualifying income until it moves over into these cells over here. And that's LoanBeam's second basic function, these aqua-colored cells that we will see throughout the workbook. The third of LoanBeam's basic functions is our calculation method based on trend, and that's either going to be the 2-year average or current year. So based on investor guidelines, LoanBeam will default to the most conservative of those 2 calculation methods. And we can see here that on 3 of these rows, LoanBeam has defaulted to the 2-year average, and on 2 of them, LoanBeam has defaulted to current year. If we take this row here and look at it, the reason LoanBeam has defaulted to current year on this row is because the income is declining year over year. In 2015, the borrower had $6,000 in income for alimony, and for 2016, that income reduced to $4,400. Since that income is declining, LoanBeam has gone with current year as the calculation method. In this case, the $4,400, it just jumps directly on over to our qualifying income annual column. Divided by 12 gives us $367 for our qualifying monthly income. Now, if I don't like that LoanBeam has defaulted to use current year as its calculation method, I can always change that. I can always force it to the 2-year average. And you can see that new value is now $5,200 here, which is the average of $4,400 and $6,000. And of course, our qualifying monthly income has increased by a commensurate amount. The fourth of LoanBeam's basic functions is represented right up here by our X2Ignore functionality. Now watch what happens to the income in this column here, our previous year income column, if I type an X in this cell and hit enter. As you can see, that income has now been ignored. It has been removed, and not just removed from our main sheet, but across all of our subtabs as well. All income from the previous year is now gone. The reason I might use this functionality, let's imagine that my team has done a great job. We've gathered up 2 years of tax returns, uploaded them to LoanBeam, processed, and gotten our results here. But then we get our findings, maybe DU or LP, and they tell us we only need 1 year of returns based on risk. If that's the case, I'll use my Exclude functionality, and that previous year income is now removed. And we'll see this same concept throughout the workbook, X2Ignore, X2Exclude, but this is the most dramatic example of it here. And if I remove this X, that income is now brought back in. The fifth of LoanBeam's basic functions is in these two columns right here, and that is our manual override columns. Now, I don't imagine there are a whole bunch of opportunities where we would want to change the income that's pulled directly from our tax returns, but it does happen. Let's imagine it happened here. Instead of $4,400 in alimony, let's say that a court order actually had reduced that income to only $2,200. If that's the case, I can come over here to my 2016 manual override column, and I can type in that $2,200 value. Now watch what happens to my original income whenever I hit enter. As you can see, that income is now updated to reflect my manual override value. But if I hover my mouse over this cell, I can still see that initial value of $4,400 listed there. And if I try to edit the cell in this cell itself, well, look at that. It is protected. I cannot do a manual override here. The only place I can do a manual override is in my manual override columns. And that's really for transparency's sake. So if somebody comes behind me, they can know immediately that I did a manual override of $2,200. And if they hover their mouse, they can see what that initial value was, $4,400 right there. The sixth of LoanBeam's basic functions is in this column right here. And that is how we assign our income to either borrower 1 or borrower 2. So let's assign some of this income here and change it from Jack Anderson to Mary Anderson, borrower 2. Now when I head back over to my summary sheet, I can see that much of this income is now associated with borrower 2, who is Mary Anderson. This doesn't change the total of our qualifying income. It just changes who the income is assigned to, whether it's borrower 1 or borrower 2. Now that you have an understanding of LoanBeam's 6 basic functions, you'll use your experience, your expertise, and your company's guidelines to decide which income you'll set to recurring and which income you will leave as non-recurring. And once you've gone through all the different forms and schedules associated with your borrower's tax returns, you can see your borrower's total qualifying income at the bottom of the page. So for our borrowers, Jack and Mary Anderson, they have a total annual qualifying income of $665,000, and a total monthly qualifying income of $55,000. And if we head back to the summary sheet, we can see a simple breakdown of our qualifying income sources, as well as which income is assigned to borrower 1 and which income is assigned to borrower 2. Thank you for participating in this LoanBeam training. As a reminder, LoanBeam's support department is just a phone call or email away. If you have any trouble with an application, from uploads and downloads to any questions about the workbook itself, please do not hesitate to contact our LoanBeam support team. We're here to help. Thank you and have a great day.